Hi, everyone. Lauren Culp here, President and CEO at CUInsight.com. And I am bringing you a 3 questions video interview today with a really special guest. I am so thrilled to have joining me Lena Giakoumopoulos. She is the director of the Global Women's Leadership Network at the World Council and the Worldwide Foundation for Credit Unions. Lena, I'm so excited to have you here, and we're going to be talking about some really important stuff today. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in. So we're talking gender equality and the Global Women's Leadership Network and all of the things that are so important for our industry. The UN recently released a report detailing how far behind the world is on true gender equality. What are your thoughts on the progress that we've made so far and the work that we still need to do?
Well, I think you said it right at the end of your question. We still have work to do, and we still need to do work. We do actually follow the UN reports, so a series of reports that we do monitor through GWLN, and it is not a good inclination. The last report that came out, I don't want it to be doomsday. What I think is important for the audience to know is that we do need to continue doing our work. We are far behind, and one of the primary reasons is that although we had made progress actually toward gender equality leading up to the pandemic in 2019, the numbers were slowly going up for women across different sectors. Actually, the pandemic obviously pushed back and change some things overall on a global scale for women, right? I mean, the report honestly talks about 15.4% of indicators on gender equality that we're on track, but 15.4% is better than 0, but not where we would want it to go. So I think the one big piece for all of us is to make the greater effort to take the steps, keep taking the actions collectively, uniformly together across all different types of indicators to make changes to those numbers, right? I oftentimes, when I speak for Global Women's, I talk about changing the numbers for women, right? And yes, in our space, in our credit union financial cooperative space, that's the one piece, right? Directly for our work. But changing the numbers, it's not just about changing it for the women in this space. That impacts the future generations and the women in all spaces, right? Because the women are many times the heads of the households. The women are the ones that are making the financial decisions in the families, right? So the impact goes much, much farther and much greater. So I want to just take 1 or 2 minutes just to highlight a couple numbers, because I think it's important for our audience to know, right, from the UN report, just to put some perspective in things, right? The report references different sectors in different areas, right? And globally, women hold 28.2% of management positions in the workplace, 28.2%. For some people, that might be a great number. For others, it may not be, right? In certain nations, there are women who still cannot open a financial account without their spouse or partner co-signing for them, right? There are 315 million fewer women in the world than men who own a smartphone. Therefore, they don't have access to the quick financial service that they could have on their phone. So there are a lot of different indicators and a lot of different ways that we can look at the numbers, right? But I think the bigger thing is, what are we doing looking at these numbers, and how far are we willing to take those next steps so we can make that difference for the future generations?
It's really interesting to hear some of the statistics and how far behind we are. And we've heard a lot of talk about the pandemic really set us back in terms of gender equality and where we were kind of on track to hit. But from the Global Women's Leadership Network perspective, how does the Global Women's Leadership Network really work towards gender equality for everyone around the world when focusing specifically on women in credit union spaces?
Very, very good question. Very big question, right? And hopefully we can squeeze some answers in there. A couple of things here. One of the things that we like sharing and showing with our audiences is looking at where the numbers are for women in leadership in the credit union space. That's the one thing, right? And that is at the CEO level, and that is for women who sit on boards, right? However, it's not about just getting to the CEO level, right? It is about advancing women overall, right? The program is about empowering women. We talk about connect, inspire, and empower many times in our program, right? And we talk about how different ways you can engage throughout the program to be able to advance to that level, right? For some people, it is just about the networking. For some, it is about getting more access to the leadership in general so that you can increase your leadership, right? So it is about looking at different tools and resources that do help you make a difference in your life, your personal, your credit union life, your community life, and by extension, right, your greater community and your family life. So GWLN does try to give women access to different types of education, does try to show that there are different ways that you can advance, and connecting is a very, very big piece of the program, right? I always focus on the 4 words of the program, and the word network for me is one of the most important pieces of our program, because it is amazing to see what other women in different parts of the world are doing, right? Sharing stories from our members in Asia, sharing stories from our members in Latin America, sharing stories from our members in the United States. There's a lot of amazing, powerful women doing amazing things literally all across the globe. So it's important for us to be able to share that with our members. And it's important for us to be able to show that there are ways that you can advance, right? And it isn't a traditional way, for example, that you would think you would advance as you would in the US versus an international system, right? So I think that's about it there. I mean, I could go on, but I don't think you want me to.
Well, there's so much good insight there to unpack, but I know we've also heard that the Global Women's Leadership Network Executive Readiness Summit is coming up in November. Can you tell us a little bit more about the summit and how it helps to really promote gender equity the way that we've been discussing?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I will. The summit is coming up in November, November 7th to the 9th. And this year, the summit, we're going to be hosted by a credit union in the northwest part of the United States. And I really like the summit as an event. It is a more intimate setting, workshop focused type of event, 2.5 days with 50 to 60 women in the credit union space, primarily from women in the United States, right? And this event looks at different types of themes, different type of leadership, different types of ways that you can learn and grow yourself professionally so that you can take that next step, right? I remember the first year I joined, we had a woman who said, Lena, she emailed afterward and she said, I took my learnings from the summit and I went to my CEO and I said, I want to apply for this position for this and this reason, and I think I should get it. And she got the promotion and she was just ecstatic. So it's a great, great learning opportunity. This year, we're talking about all things leadership, resident leadership, inclusive leadership, charting your path, your individual path, right? The theme is to steer your ship toward leadership. And we're going to be hearing from a lot of different industry thought leaders sharing their expertise and learning from them and doing some exercises and homework. Yes, it is about working. So it's a great event, November 7th to the 9th at Hoppo. And obviously anyone can join in. We welcome all levels of women in the credit union space. That's the good thing about the workshop. And most importantly is to hear, from the leadership panel and hear how different types of women got to their different roles, whether it is the C-suite or the VP, right? Again, I'm coming back to what I said earlier. The nature of the program is to be able to give women the tools and resources so they can be the best that they want to be at their level, right? Not the level that we define for them. And that for me is the magic of the program.
What an amazing description of the program. I'd be surprised if anyone's listening who doesn't want to attend. So we're going to go ahead and put the link to that in the post here so anyone who's interested can get some more information about it. Lena, as we wrap up the conversation, do you have any final thoughts for our audience or final asks of our listeners today?
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. I do. I want to share with the audience, next July, Global Women's turns 15 years old. And as we're looking into, growing the program and continuing to add more members and focusing on our membership base, right, which is the core of what we do, right? The first ask I have of the audience is, if you haven't gotten engaged with us or if you haven't joined us as a member, please do so. It's the easiest way you can be introduced to a whole pool of individuals, women, men, identifying different genders all across the board. We are open to the entire community, and it's a very, very easy way to all of a sudden meet, what I always say, oh, your closest 500 friends are all GWLN members, and they're all wearing their GWLN pink, right? So that would be the first thing I would ask. Membership is going to be a big push for next year, but more importantly, looking at how we can continue to grow and not just make the difference in the lives of the women who work in the financial services and credit union space, but hopefully be able to grow more and make a greater impact for the members of the women we are serving, right, in our communities, which will be able to make a much greater growth and a greater impact in our communities long term. Those would be my two big asks. Just keep connecting, keep joining, and if anyone has questions, gladly to reach out to us, right? CUWomen@WOCCU.org, and I think from there we can answer what they want.
I love it. Well, we are going to link to that email address, the website for the Global Women's Leadership Network, and more, the Executive Readiness Summit, all here in the post, and some contact information for Lena and her team at Worldwide Foundation for Credit Unions and World Council. So if you have any questions, that'll all be right there in the post. Lena, thank you so much for taking the time to connect with me today. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Laura, and truly a pleasure. Very happy we had the chance to connect, and hopefully next time we can connect in person at an industry event.
Absolutely. And thank you so much to all of our listeners for tuning into our 3 questions video interview series, and we will be back again next time.